I've always been a bookworm, but not just any bookworm. One with a taste for the dark, the twisted, the unsettling. True crime, horror, mysteries, manga, and graphic novels from every corner of the globe are my jam. As long as it's not some sappy romance novel or, God forbid, anything by Stephanie Meyer. Her writing is like nails on a chalkboard to me. I'll probably devour it. Libraries are my sanctuary, my treasure troves of free stories, and I make it a point to raid them whenever I get a day off. Today was one of those days, a rare Monday off in the Chicago suburbs, and I had big plans. Hit the library with the biggest collection in the area, maybe grab some groceries at Mariano's, and, oh yeah, nail a job interview that was supposed to be my ticket to something better. Spoiler alert, the day didn't go as planned. IT started with promise. The air was crisp, the kind of early spring morning where you can still smell winter fading away. I throw on my favorite hoodie, grab my reusable tote for any free books I might score, and headed out to the library. This place is a beast, shelves stretching to the ceiling, packed with everything from ancient tomes to shiny new releases. They've got a whole section for graphic novels, and I beeline for it, my eyes scanning for something fresh. That's when I spotted it. Hungry Ghosts by Anthony Bourdain. The cover was a gut punch of eerie art, shadowy figures, a hint of something supernatural, and a vibe that screamed, "This is going to mess you up." I flipped it over, read the blurb, and knew it was coming home with me. It promised a collection of horror stories inspired by Japanese folklore, each one darker than the last, with the final tale being something called the Cowhead. My kind of black cup of tea. I checked it out, along with a measly shoebox of free books. Usually I walk away with bags full, but the pickings were slim today. That was the first sign things were off. The second? My job interview. I'd mapped out the route on Google, left with plenty of time, but the universe had other plans. Road work. Everywhere. Detours on detours. Construction cones mocking me at every turn. I followed the directions to the letter, but an hour later, I was still circling, my phone's GPS glitching and my patience fraying. By the time I realized I'd missed the interview window, I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. "Fuck it," I muttered, and turned toward home. The day was cursed, and I wasn't about to keep fighting it. Back at my place, I decided to salvage what was left of my day off. 2 chores, laundry and dishes. That's it. The rest of the time, me, my couch, and hungry ghosts. I tossed a load of clothes into the washing machine, the familiar hum filling my apartment, and cracked open the graphic novel. The stories were short, brutal, and dripping with that kind of horror that doesn't just scare you, it crawls under your skin and stays there. Each one was a twisted take on human greed, fear, or desperation, tied to Japanese ghost stories Bourdain had collected. The art was jagged, vivid, like a nightmare you can't look away from. I was hooked, flipping pages faster than I meant to, the laundry forgotten halfway through a cycle. And then I got to the Cowhead, the final story. Let me tell you, I wasn't ready. I thought I'd seen it all: gory true crime, psychological horror, manga that made my stomach turn. But this was something else. It's a story within a story, based on an old Japanese legend called Gozu, a tale so terrifying it's said to drive listeners mad or worse. The graphic novel translated it into English, of course, but even through the lens of ink and paper, it felt alive, like it was watching me back. I want to tell you about it. Not just because it's stuck in my head, but because part of me feels like saying it out loud might loosen its grip. Or maybe it'll tighten it. I don't know. Either way, I'm going to share it, but I'll warn you, this isn't a story you can unhear. IT starts in a small village, tucked away in the mountains of Japan, centuries ago. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where secrets don't stay buried long. The village was poor, scraping by on rice and whatever they could fish from the nearby river. But they had stories, tales passed down by firelight, warnings about spirits and curses that lingered in the woods. One story, though, was different. It was called Gozu, or the Cowhead, and nobody told it. Not really. The elders would mention its name in whispers, warning that speaking it aloud could summon something. Something that wasn't supposed to walk among the living. There was a schoolteacher, a young man named Kenji, who'd come to the village from the city. He was an outsider, full of ideas about progress and reason, scoffing at the villagers' superstitions. Kenji taught the children in a one-room schoolhouse, reading them folktales to keep them quiet on long afternoons. But the kids, they knew about Gozu. They'd dare each other to whisper its name, giggling nervously, half believing the rumors that it could kill you just by hearing it. Kenji thought it was nonsense. Stories can't hurt you, he'd say, adjusting his glasses with a smirk. They're just words. One rainy day, the kids were restless, cooped up inside as thunder rumbled outside. They begged for a story, something scary to match the storm. Kenji, maybe bored himself, maybe just fed up with their whining, decided to indulge them. "Fine," he said, leaning forward in his chair, his voice low. "You want a scary story? I'll tell you Gozu." The kids went silent, eyes wide. A few shook their heads, but Kenji was already talking, his words weaving a tale that felt heavier than the storm outside. He described a creature, not quite animal, not quite human, born from a curse so old no one remembered its origin. It had the body of a man but the head of a cow, its eyes glowing like embers, its horns sharp enough to split stone. It didn't walk. It drifted, appearing in the dead of night, drawn to those who spoke its name. The villagers believed it was a punishment, a manifestation of their sins, come to claim what was owed. Kenji's voice grew quieter as he went on, describing how the creature would find you, how it would whisper your secrets back to you, things you'd buried so deep you thought they were gone. And then it would take you, not your body, your soul, dragged to a place no one could name, a place worse than death. The kids were frozen, some clutching each other, others staring at the floor. Kenji, caught up in his own storytelling, didn't notice the air in the room shift, how the rain outside seemed to slow, how the shadows in the corners grew sharper. He kept going, painting a picture of the creature stalking the village, its hooves silent on the dirt paths, its breath hot and sour like decay. He told of the farmer who'd seen it years ago and went mad, clawing at his own face until he bled out. He told of a woman who'd whispered its name in a drunken dare and vanished by morning, leaving only her shoes behind. That'd be why the time Kenji finished, the room was dead silent. The kids weren't giggling anymore. One girl, barely 10, started crying softly. Kenji snapped out of it, realizing he'd gone too far. "It's just a story," he said quickly, forcing a laugh. "Just a silly old tale." But the kids didn't look convinced. Neither did he. That night, Kenji couldn't sleep. His small house creaked in ways it hadn't before. The wind sounded wrong, like it was carrying voices. He told himself it was nothing, just the storm playing tricks. But when he looked out his window, he swore he saw something in the distance, a shape too tall to be human, moving through the trees. He blinked, and it was gone. Probably nothing, he thought. Probably. The next day, the village fell off. The kids didn't come to school. Parents kept their doors locked. Whispers spread that someone had seen something near the river, something with horns. Kenji laughed it off, but his hands shook as he graded papers. By nightfall, he couldn't ignore it anymore. The creaking in his house was louder, rhythmic like footsteps. He lit every lamp, checked every lock, but the shadows kept moving just out of sight. Then he heard it, a low, guttural sound like a cow's moan, but wrong, twisted, almost human. It came from outside, then inside, then everywhere. Kenji grabbed a knife, his heart pounding so hard he thought it would burst. "Who's there?" he shouted, his voice cracking. No answer, just that sound growing louder, closer. He backed into a corner, the knife slipping from his sweaty grip. And then, in the flicker of the lamplight, he saw it. The cow head. Its eyes burned red. Its horns scraped the ceiling. And its mouth, its mouth, opened wider than it should, whispering his name, his fears, his every mistake. Kenji screamed, but no one heard. The village woke to find his house empty, the doors swinging open, the lamps still burning. His knife was on the floor, untouched. The kids never spoke of Gozu again. Neither did the elders. But at night, when the wind howled, some swore they heard it, a low, guttural moan, calling for the next soul to claim that I close hungry ghosts, my hands clammy, my laundry sitting damp in the washer. The story felt too real, like it had claws. I kept glancing in my windows, half expecting to see something out there. It's just a story, I told myself, echoing Kenji's mistake. But as I folded my clothes, the hum of the dryer sounded off, almost like a low, guttural moan. I laughed, nervous, and turned on every light in my apartment, just in case. The hum of the dryer lingered in my ears, a low drone that seemed to pulse in time with my heartbeat. I just finished reading The Cowhead and Hungry Ghosts, and the story had sunk its hooks into me deeper than I'd expected. My apartment, usually a cozy refuge in the Chicago suburbs, felt different, too quiet, too still, like the air was holding its breath. I shook it off, or tried to, folding my laundry with more focus than it deserved. Just a story, I kept telling myself. Just ink and paper. But every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the overhead light, made me glance over my shoulder. I wasn't scared. Not exactly. But I was not scared either that I tossed the last pair of socks into a drawer and decided to distract myself. Dishes next. The sink was piled with plates and mugs, remnants of a week of half-hearted meals. As I scrubbed, the hot water stinging my hands, I couldn't stop thinking about Kenji, the schoolteacher in the story. His smug confidence, his dismissal of the village's warnings, the way he'd invited something unspeakable by speaking its name. Gozu. The word felt heavy, like it carried weight in my mouth. I didn't say it out loud. Hell no. But it echoed in my head, unbidden like a song you can't unhear. The dishes done, I flopped back onto the couch, the graphic novel still sitting on the coffee table, its cover staring up at me. That eerie artwork, all jagged lines and shadowed figures, seemed to shift in the dim light, like it was daring me to open it again. I didn't. Instead, I grabbed my phone, thinking I'd scroll through X or watch some dumb YouTube videos to shake the unease. But as I swiped, my thumb hesitated over the search bar. I don't know why. Maybe it was the story, maybe it was a shitty day I'd had, but I typed cowhead story before I could stop myself. Big mistake. The search results were sparse, which was weird for the internet. Usually, you get pages of fan theories, Reddit threads, or creepypasta knockoffs for something like this. But all I found were a few obscure forum posts and a couple of blog entries, most in Japanese, with rough translations that didn't make much sense. One post, buried in a defunct horror forum from 2008, claimed Gozu was real, not just a folktale, but a curse tied to a specific village in Japan. The poster, some anonymous user with a string of numbers for a name, said the story was banned in some regions because people who heard it would disappear. Another site mentioned a scholar who tried to document the tale in the 1800s and was found dead, his notes burned to ash. I clicked out of that one fast. It was too much like Kenji's fate, too close to the story I just read that I laughed, a nervous bark that sounded too loud in my quiet apartment. Get a grip, I muttered, tossing the phone onto the couch. But the seed was planted. My eyes kept darting to the windows, the blinds half open, showing slivers of the dark street outside. The Chicago suburbs aren't exactly spooky. Strip malls and cul-de-sacs don't scream haunted, but tonight, the shadows felt wrong. Too long, too sharp, like they were reaching for something that I got up, double-checked the locks on my door, and turned on the TV for background noise. Some cooking show was on, cheerful and bright, but it didn't help. My mind kept drifting back to the story. The cowhead, those glowing eyes, that guttural moan. I wondered what Kenji saw in those final moments, what it whispered to him. I wonder why I cared so much. I'm no stranger to horror. I've read about serial killers, watched manga characters get torn apart, binged true crime podcasts that'd make most people gag. But this story? It was different. It wasn't just scary. It was personal, like it knew me that I decided to call my friend Mia. She's a fellow bibliophile, though her tastes lean more toward gothic novels and weird poetry. If anyone would get why this story was messing with me, it'd be her. Plus, I just needed to hear a human voice. I dialed, pacing the living room as the phone rang. She picked up on the third ring, her voice groggy. Yo, it's late. You okay? Not late. It's like 8, I said, trying to sound casual. You free to chat? I read something freaky today, and it's, I don't know, sticking with me. Mia perked up. She loves a good, creepy story. Speed, what's got you spooked? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to tell her everything, to recount the cowhead word for word, but something held me back. The warnings in the story, the way the villagers treated it like a forbidden thing, it made me pause. It's this graphic novel, Hungry Ghosts by Anthony Bourdain. There's a story in it called The Cowhead. It's based on some old Japanese legend, Gozu. It's about this creature with a cow's head that shows up if you say its name, and it takes you somewhere bad. Mia laughed, but it was a good-natured one. Sounds like your kind of thing. Why is it freaking you out? Too gory. No, it's not that. I trailed off, glancing at the window again. Was that a shadow moving outside? Just a tree, probably. It feels real. Like too real. And my day's been weird. Missed a job interview because of road work. Only got a shoebox of free books instead of my usual haul. Just bad vibes all around. Bad vibes, huh? Mia's tone was teasing, but I could hear her settling in, probably curling up on her couch with a cup of tea. Tell me the story. I could use a scare. I froze. I don't know if I should. The story says telling it can, summon it or something. She snorted. Oh, come on. You don't believe that, do you? You're the one who laughs at jump scares and calls ghost stories cute. Just tell me. She was right. I don't believe in that stuff. I'm a skeptic, the one who rolls their eyes at haunted house tours and Ouija boards. But my mouth went dry, and my heart was thudding too fast. Okay, fine. I said, more to prove something to myself and to her. But don't blame me if you have nightmares. I started telling her, pacing the room as I did. I described the village, the schoolteacher Kenji, the kids begging for a scary story. I painted the picture of the cow head, its ember-like eyes, its horns, the way it whispered your sins before dragging you away. Mia listened, interrupting now and then with a whoa, or that's messed up. But as I spoke, the air in my apartment got heavier. The TV's chatter faded into static, then silence. I didn't notice at first, too caught up in the story, but when I paused to take a breath, I heard it, a low, guttural sound like a cow's moan, but wrong, twisted. It wasn't coming from the phone or the TV. It was coming from outside. Mia, hold on. I whispered, my voice barely audible. I crept to the window, my phone pressed to my ear, and peeked through the blinds. The street was empty, lit by the dull glow of streetlights. No cars, no people, just the sway of trees in the wind. But that sound, it was louder now, closer, like it was right outside my door. You okay? Mia's voice crackled through the phone. You got quiet. Did you hear that? I asked, my throat tight. Hear what? You're freaking me out, dude. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The sound was unmistakable now, a deep, rumbling moan that seemed to vibrate in my chest. I dropped the phone, not even thinking, and backed away from the window. My apartment was on the second floor, but I swear I saw something move below. A shape, too tall, too wrong, slipping into the shadows of the building. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I'd pass out. I grabbed a kitchen knife. Not that it'd do much good. And checked the door again. Still locked. The moans stopped, replaced by silence so thick it felt like a weight. I picked up the phone, my hands shaking. Mia, you still there? Yeah, what the hell's going on? You sound like you saw a ghost. Egu, I don't know. I heard something, outside. Like in the story. I laughed, but it came out more like a choke. I'm losing it, aren't I? Mia was quiet for a second, then said, Okay, you're freaking me out now. Just stay on the line, okay? Go turn on all your lights or something. I did. Every lamp, every bulb, until my apartment was lit up like a Christmas tree. The brightness helped, a little, but the unease didn't fade. I kept talking to Mia, trying to laugh it off, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The story had gotten under my skin, and now it felt like it was outside my door, waiting. The rest of the night was a blur. I didn't sleep, not really. Every noise, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the building settling, made me jump. I kept the knife on the coffee table, within reach, and left the TV on. Some mindless sitcom to drown out the silence. By morning, I was exhausted, my eyes gritty, my nerves shot. I told myself it was just my imagination, fueled by a bad day and a creepy story. But when I stepped outside to grab coffee, the air felt different. Heavy, like something was watching. I went back to the library that afternoon, not to browse but to return hungry ghosts. I didn't want it in my apartment anymore. The librarian, a kind older woman with glasses perched on her nose, smiled as I slid the book across the counter. "Enjoy it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "It was intense." She nodded, scanning the book. "That one's popular. People say the last story's a doozy." I froze. "You've read it?" "Oh, no," she said, chuckling. "I don't do horror. But I hear things. Some folks say it sticks with you." I didn't respond, just nodded and left, the weight of her words settling in my chest. Back home, I tried to go about my day. Laundry, groceries, scrolling X for job postings since I'd blown the interview. But the story wouldn't leave me. I kept hearing that moan in my head, kept seeing that shadow outside my window. I wondered if Kenji had felt this way, that creeping dread before the end. That night, I dreamed of the cow head, not the vivid, comic book version from the graphic novel, but something realer, closer. It stood in my apartment, its horns scraping the ceiling, its eyes burning into me. It didn't speak, not with words, but I felt it. My mistakes, my fears, my guilt, all laid bare. I woke up gasping, the room dark except for the glow of the TV. The clock said 3:33 a.m. I didn't sleep again. The next day, I called Mia again. She sounded worried, which wasn't like her. "You okay? You were weird last night." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired." "That story's still messing with me." "Maybe stop reading horror for a bit," she said, half joking. "Stick to, like, cozy mysteries or something." "Yeah, maybe." But I knew I wouldn't. The story had its claws in me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd invited something by telling it. By saying Yugozob. Over the next few days, things got weirder. My phone would glitch, apps closing on their own, the screen flickering with static. I'd hear that moan again, faint, always at night, always just outside. I started avoiding the windows, keeping the blinds shut tight. I even taped a piece of cardboard over one, telling myself it was to block the street light glare. But I knew better. I tried researching Ugozo again, digging deeper this time. I found a single X post from an account with no profile picture, just a string of letters and numbers. It was in English, posted a week ago. "Don't tell the cowhead story." It's not a story. It's a warning. The replies were mostly memes and emojis, people laughing it off. But one user had written, "My cousin told at a party. He's gone. No one knows where." I clicked the profile, but it was deleted. I didn't tell Maya that part. I didn't tell anyone. But I started noticing things. Shadows that moved when they shouldn't, sounds that didn't belong. I'd walk to Mariano's for groceries and feel eyes on me, like something was following, just out of sight. Once, I swore I saw it, a shape in the parking lot. Too tall, too wrong, gone when I blinked. I'm not saying I believe in curses. I'm not saying I think the cow head is real. But I'm not saying it isn't, either. All I know is that I told the story, manga, and now something's different. Something's here, and I don't know how to make it go away. The days after that phone call with Mia were a slow descent into something I couldn't name. My apartment, once my haven in the Chicago suburbs, felt like a cage. The story of the cow head from E Hungry Ghost had burrowed into my brain, its roots twisting deeper with every passing hour. I'd returned the graphic novel to the library, thinking that'd be the end of it. But it wasn't. It was like the story had followed me home, lingering in the corners of my vision, in the sounds I couldn't explain. I'm a skeptic by nature. True crime, horror, manga, they're all just stories to me, puzzles to unravel. But this felt different. It felt like it was watching me. I tried to keep things normal. I went through the motions. Laundry, groceries, scrolling X for job postings to replace the interview I'd missed. But every task was haunted by that low, a guttural moan I'd heard the night I told Maya the story. It wasn't constant, thank God, but it came at the worst times. Late at night, when I was alone, when the world was quiet, I'd be brushing my teeth, staring into the bathroom mirror, and there it was, faint but unmistakable, like a cow's moan but wrong. Human in a way that made my skin crawl. I'd whip around, expecting to see something, but it was always just my empty apartment. The blinds drawn tight, the lights blazing. I stopped sleeping properly. My dreams were vivid, too vivid, always the same. The cow head, not the comic book version from a hungry ghosts, but something realer, its horns scraping my ceiling, its eyes glowing like dying coals. It never spoke, not with words, but it knew me. My fears, my failures, the things I'd buried deep. I'd wake up gasping, my heart pounding, the clock always reading 3:33 a.m. I started leaving the TV on all night. Some mindless infomercial or sitcom to drown out the silence, but it didn't help. The silence wasn't the problem. It was what was hiding in it. I called Mia again a few days later, needing to hear her voice, needing someone to tell me I wasn't losing it. She picked up, but her tone was different. Wary, like she was talking to someone on the edge. "You sound rough," she said. "Still freaking out about that story." "Yeah," I admitted, pacing my living room, the knife still on the coffee table where I'd left it. I don't know, Mia. I keep hearing things, seeing things, shadows that move when they shouldn't. I know it sounds crazy." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "You're not crazy. You're just stressed. That job interview, the bad day, it's messing with your head. Maybe take a break from horror for a bit." "I tried," I said, my voice sharper than I meant. "I returned the book. I'm not reading anything, but it's still here. I heard it last night outside my door. That moan from the story." Mia laughed, but it was forced. "Okay, now you're scaring me. You sure it's not like a neighbor's dog or something?" "It's not a dog," I snapped, then softened. "Sorry. I don't know what's going on." "Look," she said, her voice gentle now. "Why don't you come over? Crash on my couch for a night. Get out of your place. It'll help." I wanted to say yes. I wanted to pack a bag, drive to her place, and pretend everything was fine. But something stopped me. The thought of leaving my apartment, of stepping outside into the dark, felt wrong. Like it was waiting for me out there. "Maybe tomorrow," I said, dodging. "I've got stuff to do tonight." She didn't push, but I could tell she was worried. "Okay. Just call me if you need me, all right?" I promised I would, but I didn't. I couldn't. How do you explain that you're afraid of a story? That you're afraid of something you don't even believe in? The next few days were worse. My phone kept glitching, apps crashing, the screen flickering with static, sometimes flashing to black for no reason. Once, I swear I saw something in the reflection of the screen, a shape that wasn't mine. But when I looked closer, it was gone. I stopped going out unless I had to. Groceries were a quick dash to Mariano's, my eyes on the ground, avoiding the shadows in the parking lot. I'd seen it once, or thought I had. A figure too tall, too wrong, standing under a streetlight. Gone when I blinked. I told myself it was a trick of the light, but my body didn't believe me. My hand shook as I carried my bags home, my heart racing until I was back behind my locked door. I tried researching Gozo again, desperate for answers. The internet was still sparse, but I dug deeper, scouring X posts and old forums. I found another mention, this time on a subreddit for obscure folklore. A user claimed their grandfather, a Japanese immigrant, had told them about Gozo when they were a kid. He'd said it wasn't just a story, but a warning, a curse tied to a village that no longer existed, wiped out centuries ago. The post ended abruptly, like the user had stopped typing mid-sentence. The comments were disabled. I found another X post, newer, from an account with no followers, told the cowhead story. Don't. It's real. No replies, like it had been posted into a void. I started keeping a journal, writing down everything. Every sound, every shadow, every dream. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it'd help me make sense of it. Or maybe I just needed proof I wasn't going crazy. I wrote about the moan, how it seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. I wrote about the dreams, how the cowhead's eyes seemed to burn brighter each night. I wrote about the time I woke up to find my front door unlocked, even though I'd checked it 3 times before bed. I stopped writing after that. It felt too much like tempting fate. A week after I'd read the story, things escalated. I was in the kitchen making coffee when the lights flickered. Not just a quick blink, but a slow, deliberate pulse, like the apartment was breathing. I froze, the coffee pot in my hand, as that moan came again, louder this time, from the living room. I set the pot down, my hands trembling, and grabbed the knife. "Who's there?" I called, my voice barely above a whisper. No answer, just the moan, low and guttural, vibrating in my bones. I crept into the living room, the knife raised, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd burst. The TV was on, some late-night talk show, but the screen was flickering, the host's face warping into something else. Something with horns, something with glowing eyes. I yanked the plug from the wall, and the screen went black, but the moan didn't stop. It was closer now, behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing. Just my couch, my coffee table, the blinds shut tight. The moan faded, but the air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, knife in hand, every light on, waiting for morning. When the sun finally rose, I felt like I'd run a marathon. I called Mia again, my voice hoarse. "I'm coming over," I said, not giving her a chance to argue. "I can't stay here." Her place was a 30-minute drive, but it felt like hours. Every stoplight, every shadow made my stomach twist. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see Edit in the backseat. Mia's apartment was a mess. Books everywhere, dishes in the sink, but it felt safe, normal. She made tea, and we sat on her couch, the TV on low. Some reality show about baking. "You look like hell," she said, handing me a mug. "I feel like it," I said, managing a weak smile. I'm sorry for freaking you out the other night. I don't know what's happening." She studied me, her usual teasing gone. "You really think it's the story?" "I don't know what to think," I said. "I'm not superstitious. You know that. But I keep hearing things, seeing things. It's like it's following me." Mia frowned, sipping her tea. "Okay, let's say it's real for a second. What does it want?" "Wonga." "Why you?" I didn't have an answer. I'd been asking myself the same thing. Was it because I'd read the story? Because I'd told it to her? Or was it just bad luck, like the road work, the missed interview, the showbox of books? "I don't know," I said finally. But I needed to stop. We spent the day together, watching dumb shows, talking about anything but egozob. For a few hours, I almost felt normal. But when night fell, the unease came back. Mia's apartment was on the ground floor, with big windows facing the street. I kept catching myself staring at them, waiting for a shadow to move. Mia noticed. "You're freaking me out again," she said, half laughing. "Come on, let's go to bed. You can take the couch." I nodded, but I didn't sleep. I lay on her couch, a blanket pulled tight around me, listening to the sounds of her apartment. The hum of her fridge, the creak of the floorboards, the distant hum of traffic. And then just past midnight, I heard it. The moan. Low, guttural, unmistakable. It wasn't outside this time. It was in the room. I sat up, my heart in my throat, the blanket falling to the floor. The living room was dark, the TV off, the only light coming from a street lamp outside. I scanned the room, my eyes adjusting to the dimness. Nothing. Just Mia's cluttered furniture, her books stacked in uneven piles. But the moan came again, closer, like it was right behind me. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking so bad I could barely unlock it. I turned on the flashlight, sweeping the beam across the room. Empty. But the air felt wrong, thick, like it was pressing against my skin. "Maya!" I called, my voice cracking. No answer. I stumbled to her bedroom, the flashlight shaking in my hand. Her door was open, her bed empty. "Maya!" I called again louder. Nothing. Just that moan, now coming from the living room again, like it was moving, circling me. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, the flashlight beam cutting through the dark. I wanted to run, to get the hell out, but my legs wouldn't move. And then I saw it, not a room in the window. A reflection, faint but clear. A shape, too tall, with horns, its eyes glowing red. It wasn't outside. It was behind me. I spun around, the flashlight beam wild, but there was nothing there. The moan stopped, replaced by silence so heavy it felt like drowning. I backed into Mia's bedroom, slamming the door, my breath coming in gasps. I checked my phone. 3:33 a.m. of course. Mia came back in the morning, groggy but fine. She'd been in the bathroom, she said, hadn't heard me call. She looked at me like I was losing it, and maybe I was. "You need to sleep," she said. "You're seeing things." I didn't argue. I went home, the daylight making everything feel a little less real. But I knew what I'd seen, what I'd heard. I stopped going out after that. I called in sick to work, ignored Mia's texts, kept the blinds shut and the lights on. I didn't sleep, not really. Just dozed in fits, waking at 3:33 a.m. every time. The cowhead waiting in my dreams. I tried one last time to find answers. I posted on X, Anonymous, a throwaway account. Anyone know about the cowhead story? A gozo. I read it, told it, and now things are weird. I didn't expect a response, but one came from another faceless account. Stop talking about it. Burn anything connected to it. Don't say its name. I deleted the post, my hands shaking. I didn't have the book anymore, but I burned my journal, watching the pages curl to ash in my sink. It's been weeks now. The moans have stopped, mostly. The shadows are still there, but fainter, like they're losing interest. I don't know if it's over, or if it's just waiting. I don't tell stories anymore. I don't read horror. I don't go to the library. But sometimes, at 3:33 a.m. I wake up, and I feel it. Those eyes, that weight, that whisper of my name. This experience taught me the power of stories. Not just to entertain, but to unsettle, to linger, to make you question what's real. I learned that fear can take root in the smallest things. A word, a sound, a shadow, and grow until it's all you see. I learned to respect the unknown, to be cautious about what I invite into my life, even if it's just ink on a page. Most of all, I learned that some stories are better left untold. Mysteries, manga. Because once they're out, you can't take them back.